There is a retired couple in Stamford, Lincolnshire, a town so perfectly preserved that film crews use its streets as a stand-in for Georgian England, and yet almost nobody outside the East Midlands has seriously considered retiring there. They own a stone terraced cottage on a side street off the high road. Combined, they receive the full new state pension. That is £241.30 each per week from April 2026, just over £2,086 a month between them. They are not scraping the barrel at the end of every month. Their mortgage is long paid off. Their council tax qualifies for a pensioner discount. Their prescriptions are free. And outside their front door is one of the most architecturally beautiful streets in England. Limestone buildings, a Georgian town hall, a meadow along the River Welland, and the kind of quiet that people in London spend entire careers trying to buy their way into. And Stamford is not even the most surprising town on this list. Here is what the UK retirement conversation gets wrong almost every time it is had. It assumes the good life costs more than the pension provides. It reaches immediately for the South Coast or the Cotswolds, or somewhere that charges you for the privilege of arriving. It forgets that this country has towns, dozens of them, where the state pension is not a survival income. It is a living income, where £241 a week buys you history, community, decent healthcare, and a genuinely beautiful postcode that nobody thought to overcharge for yet. We are counting down 15 of them today. 15 towns that no one is making the glossy retirement brochure about. And we are starting at number 15 and working our way up to the one that will genuinely change how you think about where retirement in this country is possible. If this is the kind of content that actually helps you, real places, real pension figures, no fluff, subscribe right now and drop a comment below telling me where you're watching from. Whether you are planning retirement, already in it, or somewhere in between, I want to know where in the world you are sitting today. Number 15, Shildon, County Durham. Shildon does not appear on any retirement shortlist. It should appear on more of them than it does. According to Zoopla's most recent affordability research, Shildon is the single most affordable town to buy a home in all of Great Britain. Median property values of just £73,900, which is barely more than 1 year's average household income. That figure is not from a decade ago. That is 2025 data. Shildon has a railway history that genuinely matters. The world's first passenger railway ran through here in 1825, and the Locomotion National Railway Museum in the town centre is free to enter, permanent and genuinely impressive. The town is small, the high street is functional rather than fashionable, and the winters in County Durham are not to be dismissed. But here is what that £73,900 median means for a state pensioner. It means that if you have any equity from a previous home, any at all, you could own outright in Shildon with money left to spare. And with no mortgage, a single pensioner on £241 a week lives here without financial strain. The trade-off is honest. Shildon is not beautiful in the way that some towns on this list are. It is a working town that is proud of what it built. For retirees who care more about financial dignity than postcard aesthetics, and more people should, Shildon makes a compelling, underrated case. Number 14, Horwick, Scottish Borders. Horwick sits in the Scottish Borders, about an hour south of Edinburgh on the A7, in the kind of green valley country that makes you understand immediately why people have been living here for 1,000 years. The River Teviot runs through it. The hills roll up around it on every side. Horwick is internationally known in one specific industry, cashmere and knitwear. The town produced premium woolen goods for the world for 2 centuries, and the mills and the heritage are still there. It is also, as of 2025, one of the fastest appreciating housing markets in the UK, prices rising 18% in a single year according to Rightmove, while still averaging just £148,633 for a home. Let that sink in. A home in a Scottish Borders market town, surrounded by hills, 45 minutes from Edinburgh by road, averaging under £150,000 even after 18% growth. For a retired couple on the full state pension, owning a home here means that pension goes to living, not to rent. Scotland also abolished prescription charges entirely, which for retirees managing ongoing health conditions is a saving that adds up meaningfully across every month of the year. Number 13. Blaenau Festiniog, North Wales. Blaenau Festiniog sits inside Snowdonia National Park in North Wales, surrounded by mountains that were literally built, in the sense that the slate quarrying that once employed this entire town carved the landscape into the dramatic shapes it holds today. Average sold prices here sit around £120,000. Here is what makes Blaenau Festiniog genuinely interesting rather than just affordable. The town has reinvented itself around adventure tourism in a way that has transformed the surrounding landscape into a playground. Zipworld runs one of its flagship operations here. The Lechwed Slate Caverns attract visitors from across Europe. The Festiniog Railway, one of the great narrow-gauge heritage railways of Wales, terminates in the town. The hiking is immediate and world-class. For a retiree who wants the mountains without paying Windermere prices, who wants somewhere with a living identity rather than a town waiting for purpose to return. Blaenau Festiniog is a genuinely unexpected answer. Wales also offers free prescriptions, free bus passes from 60, and council tax reduction schemes for pensioners that meaningfully stretch what the state pension covers month to month. Number 12. Merthyr Tydfil, South Wales. Merthyr Tydfil was once the iron capital of the world. In the early 19th century, it produced more iron than anywhere else on Earth, and the fortune it generated for a handful of families, while the workers lived in extraordinary deprivation, is one of the defining stories of industrial Britain. The iron is gone. What remains is a town that is stubbornly alive, surrounded by the Brecon Beacons National Park, and home to average property prices of around £142,000. The Brecon Beacons are the selling point that most people miss. From Merthyr, you are 15 minutes from some of the most dramatic upland walking in Wales. The Taff Trail, a 70-mile walking and cycling path from Merthyr to Cardiff Bay, begins in the town centre. Cardiff itself is 40 minutes by train, giving retirees access to a capital city's hospitals, culture, and international airport without paying Cardiff property prices. The honest version, Merthyr's town centre has faced challenges that are visible and real. The town is rebuilding, not rebuilt. But for a retired couple who own their home, whose needs are modest, and whose sense of beauty runs to mountains and history rather than boutique shopping, Merthyr offers a postcode that quietly over-delivers. Number 11. Burnley, Lancashire. Burnley sits between the M65 motorway and the Pennines in East Lancashire, and it consistently appears at the top of every UK housing affordability ranking. Average house prices around £118,000, monthly rents under £600, daily living costs that are roughly a third of what you would pay in London for an equivalent life. But here is what the affordability rankings miss. Burnley is 11 miles from Pendle Hill, one of the great walks of the north, and sits at the edge of the Forest of Bowland area of outstanding natural beauty. It has a compact town centre, a market, a Premier League football ground, and the kind of community feel that larger northern cities have long since diluted. Manchester and Leeds are both accessible by train. For a single state pensioner on £241 a week, Burnley is one of a very small number of towns in England where renting is genuinely manageable on pension income alone, without pension credit, without burning through savings, without a side income. That is not nothing. That is the whole point of this list. Number 10. Middlesbrough, North Yorkshire. Middlesbrough gets overlooked in retirement conversations because of its industrial reputation and because the Northeast is perpetually underestimated in terms of what it actually offers people who live there. Here is what Middlesbrough actually offers. Average property prices around £139,000. The cheapest monthly rents of any city in England, around £610 a month. Direct access to the North York Moors National Park, which begins almost immediately east of the town and contains some of the most sweeping, austere, and genuinely moving landscape in the whole of Britain. The Captain Cook Birthplace Museum, a growing food and culture scene, and 12 miles to Redcar, where the North Sea beach is wide and flat and entirely free. The James Cook University Hospital in Middlesbrough is a major teaching hospital and one of the best-regarded medical facilities in the region. For retirees, proximity to serious healthcare is not optional. Middlesbrough has it. It also has a bus network, a train station with direct connections to York, Edinburgh and London, and grocery and service costs that make London prices look like a different country, because they are. Number 9. Stornoway, Isle of Lewis, Scotland. This is the wildcard on the list. And it deserves to be on this list precisely because it is the wildcard. Stornoway is the only town of any size on the Outer Hebrides, a chain of islands off the northwest coast of Scotland where the Atlantic arrives without warning and the sky changes every 20 minutes. Average property prices on Lewis sit well below £150,000. The pace of life is unlike anything on the mainland. The community is tightly knit in the way that island communities always are, which is either exactly what you want or exactly what you do not, and it is worth being honest with yourself about which. Here is the catch, stated plainly. You are on an island. Getting to the mainland means a ferry or a flight. The winters are long and wet, and the wind is not metaphorical. And yet thousands of people have chosen to retire to Lewis and Harris, and when you ask them what they traded and what they gained, the answers are consistent. They traded convenience and gained something they cannot fully name but would not give back. For a retired person with a paid-off property and a full state pension, the cost of living on Lewis is low enough that the pension covers it comfortably. The Hebrides are not for everyone. That is also partially the point. If you are still watching, and this list has more to give, now is the right time to subscribe and hit the bell. Every week we cover housing, retirement, and the real numbers behind where people are choosing to live across the UK and beyond. Subscribe so you catch the next one. Number 8. Bishop Auckland, County Durham. Bishop Auckland is the kind of town that is quietly being transformed by one of the more unusual cultural investments in recent British history. The Auckland Project, a £100 million plus arts and heritage development funded by a private foundation, has turned a former market town into a regional cultural destination almost overnight. The Auckland Castle, the Spanish Gallery, the Faith Museum, the Walled Garden. None of this existed a decade ago. Average home prices in Bishop Auckland sit around £110,000 to £130,000. The town is 20 miles south of Durham City, 30 miles from Newcastle. Transport links are solid. The NHS County Durham and Darlington Foundation Trust runs hospital services across the region. For retirees who want to be surprised, who want a town that is becoming something rather than coasting on what it was, Bishop Auckland is one of the more interesting answers currently available in England at this price point. The Auckland project is not finished. The town is not finished. And that energy, when a place is in the middle of becoming something, is genuinely something to retire into rather than away from. Number 7. Lancaster, Lancashire. Lancaster has an average house price of just over £160,000, and it consistently makes lists of the best places to retire in the northwest. But it still does not receive the attention it deserves from people actually making retirement decisions. Here is why Lancaster makes this list. It is a genuine city, cathedral, castle, university, a proper high street with independent shops and good food, at a price that places it alongside towns a fraction of its size. The Forest of Bowland is on the doorstep. The coastal town of Morecambe is 4 miles away, with a bay that faces west into sunsets that stop traffic. Liverpool is an hour south. The Lake District is 30 minutes north. The University of Lancaster keeps the town intellectually alive in the way that university towns always do. Evening lectures, public events, an energy that does not disappear when the working week ends. Lancaster Royal Infirmary is a full district general hospital. The bus and rail network connects the town to the rest of the country without the need for a car. For a retired couple on combined state pension of just over £2,000 a month, Lancaster is one of those rare towns where the pension covers rent or a modest mortgage, leaves money for food and utilities, and still permits a genuinely good life. The mathematics work here. Number 6. Prestatyn, North Wales. Prestatyn sits on the North Wales coast, where the Clwyddian range of hills meets the Irish Sea, at the northern end of Offa's Dyke Path, one of the great long-distance walks of Britain, 177 miles from here to Chepstow. Average sold prices around £179,000. Rental costs among the lowest on the North Wales coast. Here is what Prestatyn offers that its price tag does not suggest. The beach is real and accessible and long. The town has all the services a retirement requires: GP surgeries, a range of shops, supermarkets, and access to Rill's hospital network. The train from Prestatyn to Chester takes under an hour. Chester to Manchester is under an hour after that. Wales provides retirees with a free bus pass from 60, free prescriptions at any age, and council tax reduction schemes that meaningfully supplement the state pension. For a single pensioner renting a two-bedroom home in Prestatyn for around £700 a month, the full state pension of £241 a week, just over £1,044 a month, covers rent and leaves approximately £344 for everything else. It is tight. But with no mortgage, with a free bus pass, with free prescriptions, the maths become possible, in a way that almost nowhere in the south of England can match. Number 5. Cumnock, East Ayrshire, Scotland. Cumnock is a former mining town in East Ayrshire, about 30 miles south of Glasgow, in a stretch of rolling lowland Scotland that is consistently underestimated as a place to actually live. According to Zoopla's affordability research, Cumnock ranks among the most affordable towns in all of Britain. Homes available for under £100,000 at the entry level. The town itself is small and the high street is modest. What surrounds it is the argument. The Ayrshire countryside is genuinely beautiful. Burns, low hills, farming landscape that has not been disrupted by development because development has not arrived. Robert Burns was born 12 miles away at Alloway. The Ayrshire coast, with its views across to Arran, is 20 minutes by car. Glasgow is accessible by both rail and road. Scotland's approach to supporting its older population is, by UK standards, exceptionally generous. Free prescriptions, free personal care for those who need it, free bus travel from 60, a winter heating payment. These are not trivial additions. For a retiree living on the state pension, the cumulative value of Scotland's senior benefits can add the equivalent of hundreds of pounds a month to what the pension alone provides. Cumnock, at its price point, with those benefits, is one of the most financially viable retirement postcodes in the entire country. Number 4. Whitby, North Yorkshire. Whitby is famous. That is precisely why it almost did not make this list. But here is the thing about Whitby. It is famous as a day trip, as a weekend destination, as the town where Bram Stoker set Dracula and where the whaling ship sailed. What it is less famous as is a place where people actually live year-round on ordinary incomes. Average property prices in Whitby sit around £220,000, notably higher than the rest of this list. But the rental market tells a different story, with two-bedroom properties regularly available for £750 to £850 a month outside the tourist-facing streets. And what you get for that rent is one of the most visually arresting towns in England. The ruined abbey on the cliff top, the 199 steps, the harbour with its working fishing boats, the North York moors beginning immediately inland. The year-round community is tight and real and distinct from the tourist version of the town. The local Whitby Community Hospital provides GP and minor treatment services. Scarborough District General Hospital is 21 miles south. For a retired couple who find meaning in landscape, in history, in the particular quality of a coastal working town that has not been polished into a lifestyle product, Whitby is the answer to a question most retirement guides never think to ask. Number 3. Ludlow, Shropshire. Ludlow has been called the finest medieval town in England by people who have clearly visited most of the competition. The castle, ruin, the timbered buildings, the food scene that punches so far above the town's population of 10,000 that chefs have been writing about it for 20 years. the Shropshire Hills surrounding it in every direction. Average home prices in Ludlow sit around £250,000, which is above the cheapest towns on this list, but well below the national average of £368,000. And Ludlow is on this list not because it is the most affordable option, but because it represents something specific, the maximum of what the state pension can buy you, stretched fully, in a town of genuine and lasting beauty. A retired couple on £2,086 a month combined, owning their home outright, living in Ludlow. That is a good life. Not a compromised life. Not a life of financial anxiety punctuated by occasional treats. A life with farmers' markets and independent bookshops and castle walks and proper food, and the kind of social fabric that a market town of this scale produces when it has been running for 800 years without interruption. Ludlow rewards the retiree who does their homework and moves before everyone else does. Number 2. Alnwick, Northumberland. Alnwick sits in Northumberland, an underrated county by almost any measure, beneath the walls of Alnwick Castle, which has stood since 1096 and is currently the second largest inhabited castle in England. Harry Potter's Hogwarts exterior was filmed here. The Alnwick Garden, built by the Duchess of Northumberland, is one of the most visited gardens in the country. Average home prices in Alnwick sit around £200,000 to £220,000, which is below the national average and entirely reasonable against the backdrop of what the town provides. The Northumberland coast, ranked among the finest in Europe, begins a few miles east. The Cheviot Hills rise to the west. Bamburgh Castle is 20 minutes north. The town has a proper high street, a market, a community that takes visible pride in where it lives. Here is what makes Alnwick number 2. It is one of the few towns in England where genuinely world-class surroundings, castle, coast, national park, heritage, are available at a price point that a state pension couple with a paid-off home can actually access. Not aspire to, not dream about. Actually access, today, on the pension as it stands. That combination is rarer than it has any right to be. Number 1. Stamford, Lincolnshire. Back to where we started. Stamford is built almost entirely from the local limestone that gives it its warm honey gold colour, the same colour as the thumbnail you clicked on, the same colour as the streets where that couple walks every morning. It has been listed as a conservation area since 1967. The BBC has used it to film period dramas, and the crew keeps coming back because there is almost no angle in the old town that requires modern elements to be removed from the shot. Average home prices in Stamford sit around £310,000, the highest on this list, and the reason it works as number 1 rather than number 15. Because Stamford is the answer to a different question. Not where is cheapest, but where does the state pension let you retire with genuine beauty and dignity without requiring anything else? A retired couple on the full new state pension from April 2026. £241.30 each, £2,086 combined per month. Who own their Stamford home outright, receive their free prescriptions, their pensioner council tax discount, and their winter fuel payments, are living in one of the most beautiful market towns in England, with money to spare each month for food, for the occasional trip, for dinner at the George Hotel on a Tuesday night for no particular reason. This is what the retirement conversation in this country systematically fails to tell people. The state pension is not a poverty income if you are standing in the right postcode. In Stamford, it is enough. In the 15 towns on this list, it is enough. You just have to know where to look. Every town on this list exists outside the story that the financial services industry and the property market have been selling British retirees for 30 years. The story that says the pension is not enough, that you need more, that comfort in later life requires wealth that most people simply do not have. In these 15 towns, that story is not true. The couple in Stamford did not get lucky. They asked a question that more people should ask earlier. Not where can I afford to retire, but where can I actually live well on what I have? 15 towns gave you 15 different versions of the same answer today. Which one surprised you most? Drop it in the comments. And if you are already retired in one of these places, or somewhere that should have been on this list, tell me about it below. And if you have not subscribed yet, do it now. More towns, more real numbers, more of this. You will not want to miss the next one.